The Flask is also known as a micro or lightweight web server gateway interface. Right? It's basically a web framework application, right? Software. So Flask is a lightweight gateway interface, and it is designed to make the very simple UIs, and automatically the rendering is taken care by this application. All you need to do is come up with some kind of a templates which are already written. You use those templates and get your UI designed. Now, this was actually started as a very simple project, and it was a wrapper on top of the German word, which is basically called as Werkzeug. There's different pronunciations, of course, but yeah, I would like to call it as Werkzeug. And then the templatization concept, which is Jinja. Right now, we have Jinja 2, which is a web template creation module. And once it has started, it has become a very, very popular web framework application in Python. Because of its simplicity, and it's very easy to use, and we are calling it as a lightweight, right? Or we call it as a micro framework, because it does not have all those heavy machineries in it. It's very simple. It keeps very, very simple libraries in it. Exactly opposite to the full stack frameworks that we are actually hearing in the industry by code developers. We don't need all that. That's important. So like, we don't have authentication system. We don't have a backend database system, nothing, right? It only keeps the essential things with it. Hence, it's micro web framework. These are easy, small. That's what I was trying to explain. And they use this web service.
Sharath, quick interruption, because I have certain questions coming in. I don't want them to lose the interest. So there is a question which obviously is a very easy thing, but first question is deployment only for supervised learning in data science? A very quick answer for that, because I have other questions also.
No, any application can be rendered into a HTML page and it can be given in a UI.
So there you go. I wanted you to hear it from the expert's mouth. Yes, any application your client requires supervised learning output or requires an unsupervised learning output, you can definitely do the deployment of it on an HTML or whatever application and do it. So that's one thing. Now, there's another question.
Sorry, just to add a point, Mr. Nitin. As part of the trainings that we deliver in association with 360DigiTMG, the channel is basically the subscribe channel that you are watching. We have also come up with all these examples in unsupervised learning technique as well. For example, clustering, doing dimension reduction exercises. The discussion in trainings cover all these aspects also.
All right. So I have one more question which is asked. Again, this is how is it different from Django? How is this? Huh?
Yes. So Django, to start with or to explain, is a full stack web application. Right? I mean, it's a full stack web framework, whereas this is a micro framework, lightweight framework. That's the huge difference that you will see. So when you're trying to package everything, you obviously want to ensure that your solution is very lightweight for your client. So that's one major disadvantage which Django has. It's a full stack web framework.
Yeah, that's it for now. You can please proceed.
Okay, sure. Okay, so yeah, we can discuss that. I mean, as part of the series of sessions that we have right now, today I'm trying to explain the Flask application. In future, we'll also talk about Django, and then you'll be able to appreciate the differences. Now, let me come back to the Flask explanation. As you can see, Flask is very simple, lightweight, and it is very easily accommodating to the small applications. But it is also flexible to deal with production level large projects as well. Now, as an example, if you want to see the true value or true capabilities of Apache Flask, I would also ask you to go through a website, an Apache framework called as Airflow. Apache Airflow, which is a workflow management tool in itself. The entire application is developed using Python Flask, and it is so appealing to the users and the analysts who use that application. So entire software is built using Python Flask. So the point is, it is also applicable for larger projects, production level projects. There are a bunch of strengths that you need to also understand. I have highlighted here. There are a lot of extensions, very simple and easy extensions, and very good community that supports the development of Apache Flask and its tools, extensions. RESTful requesting dispatching, that means RESTful applications can be very easily built here. And it is always in compliant with the standards, WSGI standards, right? And we also have very good documentations. If I'll show you the documentation part also for Apache Flask. And you can also have elegant API. APIs are good. Right? I mean, it's very simple way to write the commands and your code, and you can try and integrate different tools. So it can very easily work with APIs. The installation part is very simple. All you have to do in Python is install Python Flask. Right? So just like any Python library, we will install Python Flask using pip command. And if you want to connect to databases, Flask also allows you to connect with databases. And we can try and use this as an example. You can see Flask can connect with SQL Alchemy. It can also connect with different softwares like MySQL or NoSQL databases like MongoDB, etc. But it is very simple one-line implementation, one-line command, which basically gives you the installation ready in your setup. This is the example code that I wanted to talk about. I will explain each and every line in detail also in the next slide. So when you execute this code, this is how we basically execute. We call that function. And this function is calling the web framework, and it is allowing us to get the connectivity from the web framework, and the application can give you the rendered HTML UI. It shows on which URL the application can be viewed. So you copy this, and then you can just view it. The answer the point that I'm trying to show here is just a message. I want to return hello world. So I'm writing a function, and then when I execute this file, it generates a HTML rendered page. This is one of the templates that we use. Now let me explain this code as well. So the first line, obviously in the code, is to get the package installed. Right, you're importing that particular package so that you can start using it. Then we are defining the name. So this name is basically trying to represent the web application name. It creates the instance for your Flask class, and then it will call that application, web application. So it is defining, and then it is calling. Right, and then this slash that you are seeing is this application is routing to a HTML page, and this is your default page. That you can say when you launch the URL, you'll get this page. Then we are trying to write a custom function, right? And I called it as home, defining a home, and then within that I have written some code, right? So I said print hello world. So this is a custom function which gets executed. This function will get activated, you can see. Okay, this line. So the page that you're trying to display, right? The default page will have the output from this particular custom function that we are defining here. Then we have if name is equals to main. So the name here is the main function is basically triggering the instance, you can see. When the Python script is executed, the entire script is executed, the name that we have defined is assigned to this main function, right? And this main function triggers the entire execution. And only then the command gets started. If command you talk about here, if statement activates once the name is assigned. It's like you're instantiating your entire function. This is defined as a main module. If name is main, then you instantiate this function and call the application. That's the meaning of this line at a high level. And then the last function is to trigger the application. This is basically executes, right? This will run the application, which you have written here, the entire logic. And debug is equals to true is also optional, of course. It is optional. And if you're doing it on a development system, I mean, development application, then yes, you need to have this debug is equals to true so that you can also see all the errors that are coming up. But in production environment, we generally refrain from using this debug equal to true because it is also hampering the performance. It always refreshes the re-executes the code when you say debug is equals to true to capture all those errors on the that generally appear on the web page. So this is a simple application which has about, if I remove all the empty spaces, about 6 to 7 lines of code, and it is going to automatically print the hello world statement, which is defined in the custom function in an HTML rendered page. So this is basically how the code works.